to the Shepherd's Bothy.
Oh, that feels good.
Yeah, it's been some time.
Mm-hmm.
We took a kind of an extended hiatus from these episodes because both James and I have just kind of been working on various recordings and projects and family things. But James has just released a new single that's actually really kind of your first solo named single.
This is true.
And you can find it not just under James Aslan, but James Parker Aslan.
Got a shout out to Parker, my middle name. I love my middle name. So I was like, why not just put it out there?
Come on. And you can find it anywhere on all the streaming platforms, but we're just going to do some talking about the song today before, or rather we'll listen to it here in this episode and then we'll talk about it. But first, we just kind of wanted to give you an update on the Bothy.
Yeah, and that this will probably be one of the last episodes in the Bothy.
Yeah.
Because Jake, you have some news. I mean, last one we did was People That Walked in Darkness.
Right, that's right.
You gave a little bit of context kind of behind your time. Mm-hmm. And even then you said there's more to the story.
Right.
And, we're not going to get into all of it right now but there is more to the story.
Right.
But tell us a little bit about why this will be one of the last iterations of this Bothy.
Yeah. So in that episode on People That Walked in Darkness, I talked a little bit about the church community that my family and I worked with back in 21 and 22. And we really, over the last 6 months have, longer than 6 months, actually, more like 6 to 8 months, have felt called to move back to work with that church community in Glasgow, Scotland. So we only have a few more months living in this house that on which property the Bothy is. So we're going to have to let go of literally the space here that James and I have enjoyed recording and doing these episodes in. So hopefully we'll still doing stuff like this, but the literal Bothy now has an expiration date of only a few more months. So,
but as the coffee table book in the Elliott's house will tell you, there are many Bothys.
Yes.
And when one page is turned over, another one appears. And the whole idea is that there are many of these scattered throughout the Highlands of Scotland, so that whenever you find yourself on a journey, there's one waiting for you. And so we'll just trust that that's part of what's to come is another Bothy space.
Yes,
whether that's virtual that we get to share together,
it could be a literal Bothy.
Could be a literal.
Now that we are moving to Scotland, and the Aslans will surely come visit us, the next Bothy episode could be from a real Bothy in the Highlands.
It's true, and I think it's a good segue, right? Like, this is something that not everyone does. Not everyone uproots their family to go do something like this.
Right.
And you're taking the path less traveled, so to speak.
Yeah, you can't really get there on the main street. So, without further ado, let's do a little listen to this excellent song by James, and then we'll talk about it. Here goes. Enjoy.
Oh, there is a place that I've come to cherish. You can only find it when you're full on lost. You might have to drop the truck down into 4x, 'cause you can't get there on the main street. And it has taken me some time to finally slow down and find meaning in the mornings here and now. I kept looking for a sign about my future, but couldn't get there on the main street. Here at the end myself. I need you to hold on. I'm reaching out for your help. I cannot carry on. Just put my life in my own hands, leads to a place only I can go. I'm consistently concerned about convenience and looking for the fastest path for me to be. But I'm learning that trust matters more than timing, and I can't get there on the main street. And I'm at the end of myself. My pride is all but gone. I'm reaching out for your help. I know where I went wrong. Just put my life in my own hands, leads to a place only I can go on my own. Oh, you sat with me through twists and turns of measure, while I emphatically refused the GPS. But as I look back now on how far we've come, we didn't get here on a main street. And oh, at the end of myself, I find you holding on. I'm reaching out for your help. I know where I went wrong. Just put my life in my own hands, leads to a place only I can go. Put my life in my own hands, leads to a place only I can go. On my
Mm, that slide guitar.
Wow. Lovely. Chris
Thanks.
Casriel, ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah,
on
thanks.
the electric guitar.
Yeah, shout out to Chris, electric guitar, produced the song. Thankful for you.
Yeah, come on. So, James, I have a couple questions that I'm hoping will just prompt you to kind of talk about what this song has meant to you and the process and journey of writing it.
Mm-hmm.
But in the very first verse, you talk about you might have to drop the truck down into 4x.
Yeah.
I love that line. Is there a particular, or was there a particular experience where you actually were on like a dirt road and had to drop your truck into 4x4 that kind of prompted this?
Full disclosure, I don't own a truck.
Silly question. I know you don't.
No. You said your truck. So, full disclosure, I don't own a truck. I don't think I've ever dropped a truck down into 4x4. I do. The closest I get to that is coming down a steep hill locally here on my way back tonight from this Bothy. I will go down California Street.
Oh yeah.
And I drop
That's quite a street.
and I drop my RAV4 into L.
Nice.
Which is that, lowest gear. So that's as close as I get to
Don't be
4x4.
fooled, ladies and gentlemen.
Bit of a poser. I know you, but thank you, Jake, for asking that question. Because this song is about places that I found myself that I would not have been had I just done what kind of was expected or the status quo of, I think, of a a young guy in his late 20s. And that makes it sound like, oh, I didn't do the status quo. Anyway, I've been brought a lot of places by Becky, my wife, and places that I never would have dreamed I'd be without her. And that's kind of where this song goes. And particularly, I can think of a couple dirt roads. This song was written while we were on an extended trip to Africa and I say Africa because we were in multiple places, not just because I know some people say that. They say Africa and they mean, but it's such a huge continent. And there's so many different places. And
right, but you actually went to multiple
so first stop was
within,
Egypt, and second stop was Uganda, and the third stop was Ghana, where her parents, were living at the time. And those were all places that we found ourselves in situations that we didn't expect to be in. One of those was without our passports at an airport hotel in Egypt, in Cairo, Egypt, and we decided, let's go see the pyramids without our passports, and hopped into a taxi. And looking back, is like, that was not probably a great idea.
That's right. I remember you telling us
about
that.
And just like having these experiences wouldn't have happened if we just stayed in the hotel and kind of stayed in what was safe, you know?
Safe and normal.
Yeah. And so the first verse, we couldn't get there on a main street. It just like the putting my life into my own hands line that comes up a couple times, that I've found is often a lonely place when, there's a saying, take matters into your own hands. And I've lived like that before when I've put my needs and my priorities as first. And especially during our time abroad in London and then in traveling afterwards, I just learned early on that putting my life in my own hands and kind of putting my priorities as first, it was a lonely place. And rather letting Becky into my struggles with living in a country where there isn't as much sunshine, and having my first experience with, seasonal affective disorder, which is a form of, mental illness, and it's a mild form, but it's the first time I had ever experienced just feeling off and feeling out of it. And
you were also, you've told me before about just some ways that you went on that trip in totally more of just a supportive role. Like, Becky had a specific thing she was doing there, and you, didn't have a specific thing you were going, other than going with her.
Yeah.
Does that kind of, tie in kind of to like what you're describing?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I think in marriage, there are seasons when you have to play that role for another person. And hopefully in a marriage where both of you are looking towards the best interest of each other, you have moments in your life together where you're trading that off. You recognize that, this just seems like a season where the call for you is strong, and I need to be supportive in this way. And then there will be times where the other partner, it's like, that's a really good opportunity. We need to take care of that, or take advantage of that, and all play in this supportive role. And so, this was just a season for my life where I kind of took that back seat, so to speak. And what I hope comes across in this song is the thrill of the ride and the journey when you give it up to someone who loves you and that you trust, and there's a thrill of adventure. There's a safety there when you do kind of give up your priorities to someone that you love and someone that you trust, and someone that you trust loves you.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just a small picture of what surrender to Jesus looks like.
Totally.
Putting your putting your life into the hands of someone who has your best in mind and seeing what comes of that.
Right. Yeah, I love that. I mean, that that fires me up, and just because I know you and Becky, and we shared a lot of experiences in that year. But what I love about what you're saying is some people might frame that as a negative, like, oh yeah, I was the one without a mission. I was just
totally,
going.
especially in our kind of hyper testosteronized,
Right.
like get
Right.
back, take back the male way, where I think there's kind of this movement of like, oh, we've been feminized,
And seeing an enemy.
we've been emineminized.
Yeah.
Where like men have been feminized, and you got to be the provider, and you've got to play this role that's like strong and this and that. And I just think that my experience has been that when you trust someone, and like what I said earlier,
Yeah, and you found great adventure in, there were challenges in that year, but you found, you were stretched and found adventure and got to places that you wouldn't have if you had just been doing the normal, 30-year-old male living in Santa Barbara thing.
Yeah.
Which,
so.
well, to a degree, what is that?
Right. There's so many different varied experiences
what I mean?
of that.
It's like you just totally, there was a wave and you rode it.
Yeah. Nice. I do want to say though, like the second verse is all about, consistently being concerned about convenience, looking for the fastest path from A to B. And that year abroad was like, a lot of it was, her putting trust in me to take us places. Literally, I talk about the GPS, but, me like looking at a phone and like not paying attention to her, and like being concerned about like, okay, how do we get to where we're going? And her being like, look where we are. Like, let's just stop and take a breath and look around. And so I'm not saying, I don't want it to come across like, oh yeah, that year was just all I self-sacrificed and it was this and it was that. It was like, it was a process of me learning this.
Yeah,
and I think
totally.
that it's telling that these words came towards the end of our time abroad, of our journey abroad.
Right.
Because it encapsulates, I think, the original desire and intent to go over there and try and be a little selfless. And then it talks about, what it's actually like to just be concerned about, there's a line in there about how learning that trust matters more than timing. And when you're traveling, timing is important.
Right.
And sometimes I was short-sighted in timing and things like that. But so that's where that line comes from too. So I do want to be clear. It wasn't all like, me being the perfect servant.
Right. Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I noticed in the song that the choruses have slightly different lyrics, and some of the lyrics are overlap, but you nuanced a few differences in the three choruses. Can you share a little bit about that, or the progression of the chorus lyrics?
Yeah, sure. I think the chorus kind of starts from a place of what we had just talked about before, like those are all the ideals of self-service, but then the chorus is like being confronted with when that hasn't happened. Here at the end of myself, I need you to hold on. And multiple times throughout that, I wrestled with that whole like back and forth of needing to be the provider and like needing to have a more of a purpose on paper kind of a thing, because later on I found that my purpose was so much more in just the day-to-day living and how I live my life rather than what I was actually doing for a job or work on paper or how I was volunteering or any of that stuff.
Right.
But
which actually, let me just pause and ask a little. When you say, I need you to hold on, is that line directed at like at Becky or even at God? I think when I heard it, I kind of thought that was like a prayer.
Yeah.
Which,
I think it kind of becomes that. That's cool. I mean, that's one of the things about songs and music is that
it can be
it can
ambiguous.
It can be true. It can be true.
Yeah.
In both ways.
Yeah.
I was thinking it more about in my relationship with Becky.
Yeah.
Of coming to the end of myself, and there came a point there while we were in London and the days were dark, literally, and I'm just working at a craft beer bar serving people alcohol, and it just felt like, this is what I'm doing, really? Like, I need you to hold on. I need you to tell me, like, that there's purpose in this. Like, I need you to, there were days where I'd, be home at 3 a.m. from working a shift and not see her till the morning and be like, and then she'd go off to school,
Right.
And I'd be like, is this really, like, what am I doing here? And she would remind me that there's purpose in staying late with my coworkers at the bar and just being a different kind of voice in their lives. And there were a lot of times there where it was just like, I don't know how much more I want to do this. Being over here just seems like I'm just swimming and not getting anywhere. And I think the realization comes that, well, that's true if I'm just thinking about myself. But there was so much more going on than just how I was feeling and what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I was part of a bigger picture. And I was part of something bigger than just what I was experiencing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's cool. One thing that I'm almost like hearing as kind of a theme as you describe the life experience that inspired this song is that we live in a culture where the mainstream is self-focused.
Right.
And so for you had a whole year and a half of going off of the main street. The main street is self-focused.
Well, both apply.
You both apply.
Yeah.
You had this season of really, not, being stretched, or even I'll say self-promoting even.
Yeah.
And you had a year of going on the dirt road of that, scenario.
Yeah, I think, and part of it is like the difference between driving wheels on the right side of the car. I'm not driving over there, and we're taking bus. Like I had a year of sitting in the back seat and being taken places by other people.
Yeah.
And that contributed to this as well, like literally where I was sitting. So,
right. So the main street is control, and it's self-driven and promoting, and the not main street is surrender and trust
and camaraderie and trust and surrender and
wow,
yeah,
that's powerful.
Oh, I should have wrote a bridge with about that.
It's not
that's
too late.
Good.
Oh,
yeah.
Wait, it is. Is there if you had one thing that you hope that listeners of this song walk away with chewing on for their own lives, what would that be?
Yeah, it would be to trust someone else with your life. Maybe you already have those, maybe there are already those people in your life, and you just give a little bit more of your life over to those people, and take the public transportation for to go with that metaphor, like not drive your own car, but hop in with somebody else and let them drive you around for a while. Like trust someone else with your life, I think is probably what I would want people to walk away with from this song. So,
and that even has such beautiful spiritual, metaphors as followers of Jesus. Like, it's good to practice that with the other people in our lives toward the goal of ultimately, trusting God with your life in really, tangible ways like you experienced in London. those countries in Africa.
Yeah, and again, like the trusting people with your life thing isn't just, go and tell everyone your deepest, darkest secrets. I had this experience with somebody in college where we went out to lunch, and the first thing that they said to me was, tell me your life story. And I just said, no, like it was just me and this person. And I just said, no, I'm not going to do that. Like, I don't know you. My life story involves, high highs and low lows, and I'm not going to tell you that right away,
Right.
So like trust
the people that you trust.
Yeah, right. Like share more of your life. Give up control to people that you trust. And sure, first, and spiritually, if you believe in a Father who loves you, a Heavenly Father who made you, who knows you, of course, trust Him. The Creator of the universe. Like,
Yeah.
That makes sense to put your trust in that. But it might just be a friend
Right.
that you need to give a little bit more of your life over to, and create a little bit more of an accountable relationship where you let them speak into your life a little bit more with a little bit more authority or something like that.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing this, brother.
Good questions.
And for, being vulnerable just with your heart and your experiences that birthed this song. I did want to ask to close us if this is a part of a bigger project, like of other songs that you're writing with, kind of connected themes. Or
Totally. Yeah, I've got 3 other songs coming out by the end of February, hopefully.
Come on.
That all kind of revolve around this theme of giving up control, and hopefully like them. And they'll all be coming out.
Do you spoilers or an EP name or TBD?
Ooh, TBD.
Okay, all right.
It's not been
Folks,
confirmed.
you'll have to wait.
Yeah.
End of February.
End of February. 3 other songs coming out with this on a separate EP. So that'll be exciting. This has been exciting for me, and I just want to say on record, I've told you this off record, but super thankful for you, Jake, and you've been a huge champion of this happening and of getting this together, and played drums on the song. So thanks for that.
Yeah. Well, that's what the Brothers Collier are for.
Yes. And that's what this is for. That's what this Shepherd's Bothy is for. Hopefully it continues to be a place for you, the listener, to find a place to come in from just the monotony of what can sometimes feel like a kind of just a drudgery of days, to come into a place and get a cup of tea and or beverage of your choice.
Yeah,
and kind of cozy up, sit in the body, and
just imagine the smell of sheep's wool, the black moving blankets, and the orange moving blankets on the top.
Or imagine whatever you think
your
would be
coziest Bothy experience.
This is great for us. This will do for now. But like I said, like we were talking about at the beginning, there will be many iterations of this.
Yes.
And so hopefully that is what this continues to be, is a place for you to kind of not hit pause on your life, but to kind of bring it into realignment and be able to have space to unpack it. And maybe that's what you do while you're listening to some of this music or this episode, or
and as we sign off, we just want to say that if this has touched you or blessed you, please share it with a friend. James and I are working on being bolder at tooting our own horn and really believing in these songs and wanting to put them out there. So share Main Street with a friend. I dare you. Text it to one person. And
we'll put the links for it in the description of this.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And
I mean, we already have, of course.
Okay, right. Yeah, we're on top of it.
All right. Well, the Brothers Collier signing out.
Thanks for listening.